After I was passed over for a management position for the 5th time, my mother called once again, nagging me to come home and let her set me up with someone. Normally, I would have shut her down immediately, but this time I quietly agreed. It was because after losing the promotion to my arch nemesis yet again, I'd gone to confront my boss and boyfriend, determined to get answers. But I accidentally overheard him talking to someone else. "You've watched Patty grow in this company. Why do you vote against her promotion every single time?" A cynical laugh from Chad Shaw. "I give her the affection she wants, and I give the owner's daughter the position she wants. I get to keep both of them, everyone gets something, and I maximize my assets. What's wrong with that?" The other person sounded impressed. "You're cold-blooded. You keep her dangling with low-cost affection. Aren't you afraid she'll just get fed up and leave?" Chad's voice was casual, confident. "It's been a few years in bed, that's all. It was mutual. If she leaves, it's no real loss." He paused. "Besides, last month she's the one who suggested we stop using protection. I don't think she's ready to let go just yet." He had ripped away the last shred of my dignity with his own hands, along with the 5 years of what I had carefully nurtured, what I had foolishly believed was love. I tore the appeal form in my hands to shreds, and bought a ticket for the next train home. A position and a love that 7 years of my life couldn't earn. I was done with them. Amber White snatched the torn pieces of paper from my hand. "An appeal form? You're going to appeal again?" she sneered, flicking the scraps of paper at my face. "Patty, you need to learn your place. Failing once or twice might be bad luck, but 5 times? Do you still think it's just luck? You're out of your league. Appealing a dozen times won't change that." I thought of the 4 previous appeal forms tucked away in my bottom drawer, each one neatly signed by Chad Shaw, each one citing insufficient competence as the reason for failure. For the first time, it struck me as funny. Every time he'd placate me with excuses about fairness and avoiding favoritism, his words were like bitter medicine he forced down my throat, leaving me choked and silent. In 7 years, I had landed 6 multi-million-dollar contracts for this company. I was the top performer for 13 consecutive quarters. I'd ended up in the hospital with 2 bleeding ulcers from cleaning up my colleagues' messes. Not a single client I'd worked with had ever called me incompetent. In the past, I would have argued with Amber, defending my abilities to the bitter end, but now I was just tired. It would only end with us in front of Chad, where he would deliver the same lukewarm verdict. Past performance is irrelevant. You need to accept that your overall skills just don't measure up. And then, under the spell of his manipulation, I'd throw myself back into my work, desperate to prove myself, all while fulfilling his goal of getting maximum return on a minimal investment. Only now did I realize that the one who was never treated fairly was me. "Chad Shaw, you really know how to play the game." Tears blurred my vision, splashing onto my phone screen. A notification lit it up. "Come to my office." My dormant heart gave a weak flutter, a foolish spark of hope. But as I reached the door, I heard Amber sobbing from inside. "All right, stop crying. I told you deserve this. I'll handle her." Chad's voice, so gentle and patient, was a dull knife twisting in my heart, churning up the rot inside. 6 months ago, Amber had spread a rumor that I'd slept with a client to close a deal. The client's wife had found me and beaten me so badly my face was a swollen mess. I could only eat liquids for 2 days. I had looked at him then with the same tearful vulnerability, begging him to clear my name. His only response had been, "Don't be so dramatic and naive. This is the corporate world. You know the truth will come out eventually." Bitterness seeped into the old wounds. I had to admit, even his so-called affection had always been rationed. I numbly pushed the door open. Chad's hand, which had been wiping Amber's tears, froze. He glared at me, annoyed. "I hear you're unhappy with Director White's promotion. Has anyone ever told you that careers aren't built on gossip? Is it so hard to admit you're not good enough?" I stared at him, stunned. I didn't. He cut me off before I could finish. A 1,000-word self-criticism, and a public apology at this afternoon's meeting. A single unconfirmed rumor, and I was being ordered to write an apology. It made all the vicious actual rumors he'd heard about me and ignored seem like a sick joke. Before, I could have told myself he was just keeping his professional and private lives separate. But now, knowing I was nothing more than his cheapest asset, I lost the will to even argue. I swallowed the lump in my throat and looked down, a small, humorless smile on my lips. "Yes, you're right. I admit I'm not good enough. I'll apologize." I gave a slight bow in Amber's direction. "Director White, I was wrong. I shouldn't have questioned your abilities or entertained the foolish notion of an appeal." She didn't respond. As I started to straighten up, Chad's hand pressed down firmly on the small of my back, forcing me down again. He leaned close to my ear, his voice a whisper. "I promised her father she wouldn't be unhappy here. Just play along. Indulge me this once." He pushed my waist down a little further, and a bolt of agony lanced through me. Yes, Amber's father had helped him once. It was right for him to repay that debt. But what about me? Once I was with him on a site inspection when a piece of machinery malfunctioned. To protect him, I'd thrown myself in front of him without a second thought. A heavy control lever had slammed into my back, leaving me with a permanent injury. He'd held me then, his eyes red, telling me I was reckless, that I'd almost gotten myself killed. He'd massaged my back every single day during my recovery, and now he was pressing on that very same injury, forcing me to apologize to the person who tormented me. What a pathetic way to repay a debt. Those 10 seconds felt like a century. When I finally tried to stand, it felt like my back was broken. Amber gasped, feigning concern. "Oh, I almost forgot. Patty injured her back for you, didn't she, Chad? You're so thoughtless. It's not very nice to be so cruel, is it? You might break her heart." Chad's hand shot away from me as if burned. His expression was dark and unreadable. If there's nothing else, you can go." I bit my lip to keep from crying out, my body trembling. Fighting through the searing pain, I straightened my spine and walked out of the room. Amber's words were the cruelest cut. There were a million ways to stage an apology. He had chosen the one that would cause me the most physical pain. It took a long time back at my desk before I had the strength to take the resignation letter I drafted and hand it to my direct supervisor. He'd fought for me on the promotion, but he couldn't override Chad's final word. "The company knows what you've given these past 7 years. Chad knows it too. You're still young. There will be other opportunities. Are you sure you don't want to wait it out? Later. Next time. Just wait." Over the years, those words had practically become a part of me. me. It was the later he'd murmur after we made love, when I'd ask when we could finally go public with our relationship. It was the just wait he'd offer after I lost another promotion, when I'd ask when I'd finally have a chance to stand beside him as an equal. It was the next time he'd promise whenever my parents called about marriage, when I'd ask when he would finally come home with me to meet them. I had never questioned my own resolve, but I couldn't change the ending he had already written for me. I shook my head, a helpless smile on my face. 28 isn't that young. People my age are married with kids. I can't lose out on my health, my career, and a family, can I? He didn't say anything more, just looked at my pale face and signed his name with a sigh of regret. Finish your handover this week and you'll be free to go. I won't mention this to Chad, he added. It'll save you some trouble these next few days. Besides, your position doesn't require you to report to him directly anyway. A wave of relief washed over me. Thank you, sir. Just after I submitted the form, a message from Chad popped up on my phone. How's your back? I bought some cream. I'll put it on for you tonight. This was his typical move, a way of backing down when he knew he'd gone too far but was too proud to apologize. I used to think this was his way of showing he cared. I would even use it as an opportunity to be playful and ask for more affection. Now I saw it for what it was, a piece of candy to keep me under control. No need. I've booked a massage therapist to come to my place. As was tradition, there would be a celebratory dinner for the promotion, hosted by management. I politely declined, using my pre-booked massage as an excuse, but Amber grabbed my arm, her face a mask of disappointment. Patty, does this mean you don't really accept that I beat you for this position? Is that why you're making excuses? Anyone else can skip, but not you. I want your sincere blessing. I frowned, about to speak, when Chad, who had just tacitly approved my absence, chimed in. Everyone else is going. Don't you think it's inappropriate for you to be the only one who doesn't? Show some grace. As a senior employee, you should be able to handle a loss. Don't be a laughingstock. He added, you can get a massage any day. I froze, a familiar bitterness rising in my throat. I should have known long ago just how cold Chad's heart was. When a greater benefit was at stake, my feelings were always the first thing to be sacrificed. I was 23 in my second year away from home when he promised to celebrate my first birthday with me since we'd gotten together. I'd cooked a special dinner, my heart filled with joy, and waited all night. When I finally called him and mentioned my birthday, I could hear a girl crying in the background. There was no apology, no explanation, just a hint of irritation in his voice, as if I were being childish for making a big deal out of a birthday. He later explained that Amber's mother had died giving birth to her. Every time someone celebrated a birthday, it reminded Amber of her mother and made her sad. For the next 5 years, he never celebrated my birthday. He wouldn't even let me post about it on social media for fear of upsetting Amber. He always said it was just for show, but even when no one was watching, he never made the slightest effort for me. Now, meeting my supervisor's pleading gaze, I relented. It was easier not to make a scene. I would treat it as a farewell dinner. At the table, Chad and Amber sat together. She in her chic power suit, and he in his tailored blazer looked like a perfect match. Sometimes you just have to accept reality. There are some people you can never catch up to, no matter how hard you run. So when a colleague joked that the two of them looked like a power couple, a match made in heaven, I found myself nodding in agreement. They are a good match. Age, looks, family background, it all fits. The moment the words left my mouth, both Chad and Mark Chen, the VP he'd been speaking to earlier, stared at me. Usually at these events, Chad was the subject of endless matchmaking jokes, and every time I heard them, a knot of resentment would tighten in my stomach. I'd either pretend not to hear or sit there with a sour expression. But today, I felt like a spectator, completely unfazed. Amber, however, was glowing from the praise. She shot me a triumphant look. When the conversation inevitably turned to marriage, she steered it directly toward me.